There. Hello.
Well, see, I did this last week, except Steve was around and he told me not to do it.
Oh, like he was like, hey,
Yeah.
you know, you're in different time zones.
Yeah, he reminded me. He's like, I guess he's like my my smart person that I'm obviously he's out in the backyard, and so whoops, I blew it.
That's right, you did fine. I was like, well, let's see. Usually the only reason at 20 minutes in Beth wouldn't be here is I bet Beth thinks it's 1 o'clock her time. But I was like, I'm home anyway, you know what I mean? I'm just like, there's actual baseball on. I'm watching a baseball game.
Are you watching the Reds?
I'm watching the Cubs and the Pirates.
How are they doing?
They're down 1-0, but John Lester's pitching, which means they could still, this game will be fine.
Yeah, okay.
You know, John Lester, if John Lester was going to blow this game, they'd be down 6-0 in the first, which they're not. So, like, you know, I can live with this.
That's true. I'm watching the Tigers and the Reds. I didn't start there. I started with the Rays and the Orioles.
And the other game, let's see what the other game on in my area is the White Sox and the Kansas City Royals.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that might be the only game on for where I'm at. That's okay. Like I find that like Wrigley Field is, for all of the issues I have with this city and sort of like, you know, the neighborhood where the Cubs play, and sometimes my issues with the Cubs organization. I think the Wrigley Field is a beautiful like ballpark to watch on television.
Yes.
But wait, there's another game. What is this game? The Mets and the Braves. This game it's TBS. The Mets and the Braves are also on in my area. So I think my jumping back and forth can be kind of cool here. All right, so since we're on,
yes,
and you're recording, let's do our official intro.
Okay, what's our official intro?
Our official intro, since now we have a name.
Yep, we do.
For our podcast. We can say you are listening to Drop Third Strike with your hosts, myself, Terry Gant, at Doc Midnight on Twitter, and my co-host, Beth Davies, who I've never actually said your Twitter username out loud, so I don't know like how to pronounce it.
Yeah, it's actually for what do you Lord of the Rings geeks. It's for serious Lord of the Rings fans, because it is the one of the ways that the Welsh would spell Arwen. Okay. Yep. So So
how do you pronounce it?
I just call it Arwenis.
Okay.
The reason it has the ES is because this is my internet name since AOL Instant Messenger in the year 2000. So I have been Arwenis for 20 years. And when somebody was setting it up for me at work, they said, okay, what do you want to use? And I said Arwen. And so, but it was taken.
Yeah.
So I just took the ES off my name, Davies.
Okay.
And stuck it on the end of Arwen and became Arwenis. And so it's a legit Welsh name, because Davies is a legit Welsh name. So.
Awesome. And it's spelled EIRWENES.
That is correct. Yeah.
Got it. Awesome.
Yeah, I think that in the movies they spelled Arwen just kind of phonetically, A-R.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. My Doc Midnight is from the one time years ago in the, what had to be like the, I don't know, it's probably the either late 90s or early 2000s, when I was invited to a Halloween party at Alex Ross's house.
Oh.
And I needed a costume, and I didn't have a costume. I never made any kind of like comic booky costume before, and I decided I was going to make a Dr. Midnight costume, because all I could think about was, all I need is a wetsuit. Like every superhero costume looks like it's made from a wetsuit. I was like, I drove my wife crazy. Like, I got to find a wetsuit. And luckily, about a mile from my house, maybe half a mile from my house, there's a scuba store. Okay. So I went there. I bought a wetsuit, and the guy at the scuba store was like, so yeah, were you thinking of doing any diving or were you thinking of like swimming or diving or whatever? I was like, a party. not gonna get in any water at all. I don't really like that. I don't like swimming. I'm gonna make a costume out of this. And he was like, well, I don't know, it's gonna be kind of warm in there. Yeah. I was like, yeah, I don't care. I'm gonna make a Dr. Midnight costume out of this wetsuit. And I used the wetsuit, and my mother-in-law made sort of a red kind of a jerkin, and I already had a black cloak, like, from like the kind of stores where you buy black cloaks with hoods. And I went to the Army Navy surplus store and bought some old like kind of World War I gear. And I made a pretty cool costume, except the dude at the scuba store was correct. It needed to be very cold out for me to walk around in this wetsuit, and it was one of those warmish Halloweens where in Chicago it was like probably 50s or something like that, 60s. It was pretty horrible. So I went to Alex Ross's house with some friends, and it was great. There were a whole lot of comic book pros there. There was like Jill Thompson was there, Brian Azzarello, the Moy twins were there, Jeff and Phil. Like there were lots of Chicago area like talent. Scotty Young might have been there. There's all these people who were there, and the thing I remember immediately was I walked in Alex Ross's house and my glasses fogged up, like because I was wearing goggles over them, so I couldn't see a damn thing. And then, so Alex gave me the tour of his house and his studio and everything, which was super awesome, right? And then I had to go outside and just stand out by his pool most of the night because it was the only place where it was cool enough to have my wetsuit on, this costume, at the back of it completely unzipped. I was sweating like nobody's business. It was amazing. Great.
So if his pool was not heated, he would have had it made.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I didn't get in it. But it was just, I had to be outside because the only place to get cool enough air to like cool me down. And I just remember like every time I run into somebody who was at that party, they don't remember me being at the party, but then I describe the costume like, oh, that was you, right?
You see, there are a lot of details that really make that story work. But my favorite is the swimming pool, because if you think about it, like you're in a city like Chicago and you decide you're going to wear a scuba suit and you're going to a party, what are the odds that there's a swimming pool?
There was actually a pool there. There was a pool.
I'm sure he had it heated. So it's
probably.
But too bad, because if it had been like Chicago -2.
Yeah, right. That would have felt a lot better to me. I'm telling you, would have felt a hell of a lot better. But since then, I've redone the costume to involve like proper spandex and things that breathable fabrics and nothing where I'm risking heat stroke. So, but I haven't worn it in a while.
How often do you go out as Doc Midnight?
I haven't done it in a few years. I used to do it on Free Comic Book Day at my shop. I would dress up as Dr. Midnight and like go to the shop. And the problem with like Free Comic Book Day, it's May, right? And I would try to wear it for the store anniversary, which is like early August. It's also hot. So like, I don't really enjoy cosplaying in warm months, right? Like I think that for characters I like tend to wear too much clothing. I never considered cosplaying as Conan the Barbarian or something where I can wear less clothing and be far more comfortable.
Yeah, you could.
It didn't occur to me. Yeah, I probably should have.
You could be like She-Hulk, but then you wear green paint.
Right.
Yeah.
I should have
your best bet.
Should have absolutely picked the character with less clothing, with Namor.
That's right.
That's what I should have done.
Okay, so you probably would have plugged Third Coast Comics, and that's probably not what we're here to do. But I do want to say, yay, Third Coast Comics. And
yes,
because you said a store anniversary. So what day is that?
The store anniversary traditionally is normally it is August 6th.
Okay, so we're 4 days out.
Yeah, we are. Let's see, and that's even a day when the store will be open. That's Thursday. So Thursday at the shop, I'm probably gonna have to have some kind of socially distanced, have balloons or something. I don't know what I'll do.
Yeah.
It's not during COVID. The shop is just the shop. No events. Distancing.
You can have like a ton of balloons, and anybody who comes gets a free pin.
Something, right? Absolutely. All right, let's see. What's first on our agenda? We can do like how'd the week go for you in baseball?
Okay, Terry.
We know the most significant news.
Well, I'm not even sure that we could identify the most significant piece of news because of how much there is, but I am going to go for 24 games canceled or postponed.
Absolutely. Right now, looking at my fantasy team, there is one player in my starting lineup who is not playing, but I can't bench him because my bench is filled with people who play for the Toronto Blue Jays.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
My bench is filled with Teoscar Hernandez, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., or the Phillies, who were supposed to play the Blue Jays, so Gene Segura isn't playing, and Mike Trout's on paternity leave.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like
right.
I have no one I can move. So Ian Happ is just in my lineup. Maybe Ian Happ. Oh, Kyle Seager's apparently not going to play today for the Seattle Mariners. So hopefully the rest of my team can go ahead and help me win this week because I'm winning so far.
Hey, that's great news. Now, you had Gene Segura last year. How many years in a row have you had Gene Segura?
I have Gene Segura every year for the last 4 years, maybe 5.
You are really loyal to him.
I make sure Gene Segura is somehow on my fantasy team. Yes. I must make sure he is on my fantasy team. And the way I look at it, it's because I like it, it's been determined I like a certain type of baseball player. So the interchangeable combination is Trevor Story, Gene Segura, Javi Baez, right? Like those guys. And this year I got 2 of the 3, right? So like I need fast middle infielders who get lots of hits and do cool things on the baseball field that you just don't expect them to do. And Gene Segura scores a lot of runs and hits a lot of baseballs and he's not a household name. And I think that's awesome. He just does lots of little things that I just love in baseball. Have
you had a pretty decent look at him so far this week?
If the Phillies would play a game, I would. Like, I'm imagining he's somewhere losing weight, like I'm just guessing. He's either losing weight or putting on weight. He's not playing baseball, right? Like he's like, I just hope he's, staying away from other human beings because this year it seems like human beings are trying to ruin the baseball season.
It does seem that way, yeah, including players, which is a shame.
Yeah.
Shame. This is a crying shame. I it's funny because I'm like doing all this like emotional roller coaster stuff, right? Because I was so happy that baseball came back, and then ESPN, the Daily Podcast, they had Dr. Fauci on this past week as a guest, quite a get, right? And they talked about all sports, but in the conversation about baseball, they did talk about the Marlins, and he said that he really respected the hard work that baseball had put into its health and safety protocols, and that we would know in a week.
Yes.
I was like, a week?
And he clearly had not seen the Dodgers bench coach on camera lowering his mask to cough.
That is terrifying. I was telling Steve last night that maybe everybody on the West Coast is saying we're not playing any nobody from the NL East or the NL Central is coming to here, and we're not going there. We're just gonna play NL West guys until we're played out.
So far, that was actually working.
Yeah.
That was working thus far, but now we'll see how that goes. No one's safe.
Yeah.
No one's safe.
And it feels a little bit kind of baseball. There's a lot of ways that baseball feels weird. There are a lot of ways, and I was looking at the local weather forecast probably on Thursday, and they give you the weekend lineup, and on Friday for the Friday forecast they labeled it Rockies, and I felt nothing. I felt nothing because what could I feel?
You have to look like this. I've learned, like in the first week of the baseball season, I've learned, hot damn, find people who are doing things and let's just pretend the Marlins don't exist.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Like I was looking at like the MLB sort of like list of the people who are tops at something. Right. And the Marlins have one of the best hitters in baseball, apparently Miguel Rojas, but he's only played, I guess he got all the stats that he needed in the first few days of them playing because they haven't played since. So like this dude, it's like he front loaded his career this season, and then everybody else just was like, "Oh yeah, what we should do? We should totally play, even though like all of us are COVID positive. Let's go play anyway."
Right? Yeah. There's always that.
Like, who let the players vote? Like, what is that?
Yeah. Yeah. So let's that brings up one of my second favorite first week COVID related stories, which is Lorenzo Cain.
Yes.
I love
going home.
Him. I've probably never told you why I love him. First of all, I mean, obviously he's really fun to watch play the outfield, right? But sometimes you get this personal connection with a guy, and that makes it. And I love Lorenzo Cain because I saw this time that he was at bat and he took a fastball off the knee. I mean, bam!
That's not fun.
He went right down. Of course he did. But then what he did was he got up and he resumed his at bat, and And,
He forgot he was hit.
yeah, and I mean
That doesn't count.
Because I fell on my knee like 2 years ago. I mean, I just like walked off a curb and like took the entire hit on my knee, and then like spent 6 months trying to get better.
Oh,
and
man.
this guy took his at bat immediately. Like he was like 20 seconds, I'm fine, you know. I'm like, no, you're not. I happen to know you're not fine. So
You're not fine.
Because I'm like, we have the same knee injury. So
and you were hit by a pitch, sir.
Yeah,
you should go to first base.
I wish I could.
Like, no, I want to hit.
I should just tell people I was hit by a pitch because it's way better than
than just walking along and falling off the
yeah. Although
off
actually,
the curb.
It was not my fault. I'm happy to say it was not my fault. It was one of those deals where you got the curb right, and then you've got the ADA compliant ramp.
Okay.
And so the curb comes here, and then down goes the ramp, and there was no sign, there was no rail, there was no nothing.
Okay.
So unless you're walking along staring at the ground, you're not going to see it. And so
I see.
I'm like walking, and all of a sudden there's nothing there.
Oh, you were expecting it to be a curb.
Yeah, I was expecting there to be a curb. I was expecting there to be more pavement, and and it was a legitimate expectation, but it was established by my environment that it would be there. But man, it wasn't. But I sure know what it feels like to have like that kind of impact to your knee, and I just thought, wow, what a guy! Because I mean, he's still playing. This is a few years ago that he took that hit, and hasn't. Well, now he's not playing, and I mean, I just thought. Man, when last night he said, I'm going home.
He said, I'm going home. That's it. I'm going home. All it's because the Cardinals are in your division, right? So what he's thinking is, nah, we're supposed to play these guys. I'm out. Yeah. We just saw what happened in Philadelphia. I'm not dealing with this.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's really what it was. I'm sure he was thinking, he was nervous about playing the entire damn time. And then he was playing. And the minute, oh, wait, we got to play who? Wait, what happened? Oh, no. I don't care if the game's canceled. I'm just going home.
Yeah, I'm just going home. And not only that, but I mean, okay, really? So you want me to get like all game ready, and then there's not a game, but then you want me to get ready for tomorrow, but then there's no game. Okay, now there's this double header, and it's going to be 70, but now you're not going to play that. After a while, you're just kind of like, okay.
Did you see the proposal that the doubleheader game should be only 7 innings?
Yes, and it passed. And it's part of why I put the Tigers-Reds game on. Because I thought I want to know what this feels like before I. It
feels like a softball game. That's what it feels like. It feels like a softball game. All right.
Yeah, but so this morning, because it started 10:10 Mountain Time was first game of the doubleheader, and I said, cool, because that'll give me 2 hours, because I knew back then what time it was. Give me 2 hours before I'm talking to Terry, and I'll find out what kind of feels, right?
Yeah.
I put it on, and it was a rain delay. So it was like a 2-hour rain delay for this like rescheduled double header that was now down to 7 innings.
This is the hardest way to get 60 games in.
It is.
This isn't a 60-game sprint. It's a 60-game obstacle course.
Totally, yeah. And it doesn't feel like baseball. I bothered to look at the standings, and they're completely bogus because some teams have played 9 games and some teams have played 5 games, and you don't know who's good.
Yeah. Let me see. I don't even know if I've looked at the standings. I'm just kind of like, I've just been watching the wackiness.
I'm happy to say that the Rockies are way out in front in the NL West.
Well, at least, and everybody there's played games, so that actually matters.
That's exactly right. And it was just, wow, really, the Rockies. Okay, go guys. Yeah. Keep it up.
I need my computer to catch up. I've got this old laptop, and some days it's working fantastically, and other days it's just like, it's limping along like, hey, look, I'm tired, guys. But it'll get there eventually.
Last time
and also looking at MLB.com means there's a lot of crap that has to load. Like I already know this. That's the issue. Certain websites is just gonna battle through.
I moved over to gallery view, and then I said nobody needs to see me, and then I went back to it's all you. Hey, you look good. I haven't combed my hair. I forgot. It's kind of like the Chicago summer thing, where if you don't get up and like shower hard, you got to shower like you're going to battle. You know what I mean? Like if you don't do that, you're gonna have a miserable day. So I just knew to do that this morning. We were we didn't have a lot to do. We intended to go out and do some yard stuff, but thankfully we didn't do that because I'm not feeling up to yard stuff at all.
it's just gonna have to deal.
Yeah.
It'll take one more day. I'm off tomorrow too. I'm not
Okay.
dealing with that. So the most amazing thing Mookie Betts did this week, since the last time we talked, was throwing out Ketel Marte from right field. Dude thought he had a triple when really he had a solid double. He did not. He might have had a triple on a lot of people, but
Yeah.
Mookie Betts apparently can throw from an outfield corner to third base on a rope without needing a cutoff man. And people keep forgetting he can do that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. They want
and he absolutely did that.
Now. He's well, it's all that underwear gives him all that extra weight.
He's wearing 5 pair of underwear. He's generated a lot of heat in there.
Yeah, that's right.
A lot of stuff happened down there.
So I read what Mookie Betts did, most amazing thing, a little bit differently, because to me the most amazing thing that Mookie Betts did this week was he threw that and he penetrated the consciousness of people who are not interested in baseball.
Yep.
That's really what he did, and it's
yes.
Like, now Mookie's a star in and outside of baseball.
Yeah, people understand that there are amazing things that can be done when it just looks like throwing a ball.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. You know, yeah. So Steve doesn't follow baseball at all. He understands the game. He just thinks it's boring.
Sure.
He doesn't follow it. He comes plowing up the stairs to my office the other night to tell me about this guy. And I'm like, oh yeah. I said, I know that guy. I said, you remember I've said Mookie Betts like, 1,000 times a year for the last 2 years?
Sure.
Like, oh yeah, Mookie Betts.
that happens to be the same guy. Their names are eerily similar,
that's
right?
That's like you're talking about it. Eerily similar, yeah. So he's still a champ, and this is not anything to do with COVID or anything else. He's just a great player, and he's the whole reason to watch the game right now. I think he is the whole.
Someone on Twitter was saying, I don't know baseball. Can somebody put this in basketball terms? And the response was, it's LeBron James running down and blocking a shot from behind that was an easy layup, right? That's what this is. And I thought that was a perfect description of what that is.
That really is, yeah.
A guy thinks he's got a triple, right? Because that ball was in the corner in right field. And it turns out he's thrown out. He was thrown out about 7 feet. Like direct. Like it wasn't like the guy had to like reach over and find the runner to tag him or anything. No, he was nailed. That's what that was like. No one else would have. We will all say Ketel Marte probably should have just stopped at second base because it was definitely a double. But Ketel Marte can run.
That's right.
He's thinking, I've got this. He's not a slow guy, right? Nah, he was nailed. That was awesome.
That was awesome. It was the best part. And on the other hand, to follow up on last week, there's Cody Bellinger with a batting average of 139. He's 1 for 11. So, so much for retooling your swing on the offseason.
Right? Wasn't that the Cody Bellinger is messing with everything?
Yeah.
Dude, you don't do it.
On the other hand, it made him watch from the stands. And how often are you going to be able to say that about a player that they sit down? He's watching
that is a thing.
From the stands. That
is a thing that I think that everyone should be doing because, like, I'm noticing, like, if we're supposed to have distancing, the club, the dugout isn't really designed for distancing, right? Like there's room down there, but like, why not go sit in the stands?
Right.
You know, why aren't 4 or 5 players sitting in on each side in the stands, just making sure they're not near everybody else, and just waiting for their turn to come up, right? Like right now, I'm looking at the game, and they're wearing their like pull up neck ruffle thingies, right? But like there are 2 people on either side of David Ross. When really, they can be further away from David Ross, and other players can just use those seats that no one's using.
Yeah. There's
why not?
A lot of seats in there. And when are you going to get that chance again? When are you going to get to just sit in the stands?
What's the perspective? What a perspective you might get by not being in the dugout and being somewhere else. Like unless there's a rule that you have to be, and I don't think there is. Like why not sit on top of the dugout like in the Korean baseball organization, the cheerleaders are on top of the dugout doing cheers and clapping and just going ape shit. Like sit on top of the dugout. Hang out.
Get some pom poms.
Yeah, just go hang out up there.
I totally would. They always say these guys are creatures of habit, but I mean, come on, there's just opportunity here. Like, take it. Even if it's depressing circumstances, take it.
So I discovered a thing. I think I closed the page. I discovered Blaze Ball. Have you heard of Blaze Ball?
No, this is new.
BLASE. Blaze Ball is essentially a baseball simulator, right? It's so many people probably looking this thing up right about now that its website won't even load for me. But it is a baseball simulator in which a season takes a week and the playoffs happen on Saturday. But it is completely absurd and it is awesome.
Oh wow!
Let's see if I can pull up I had it up earlier and I closed it. Some baseball writers don't like it at all because they think it's like making a mockery of the game. But it's just having fun with the game in an absurdist kind of way. The teams are like, basically you can log in and then you sign up and then you get these fake coins, and with the coins you get to bet on the fake teams, which helps determine the outcome of what happens between the fake teams games and the fake players and all this stuff. The other day an umpire incinerated a player, which I think was the first thing I noticed. An umpire had enough of a player and incinerated him. There are teams such as the Kansas City Breath Mints, the Baltimore Crabs, the Miami Dale, I don't know what that is, the Chicago Firefighters, whose motto I've learned is...
That's Cuban. Let's go, Dale.
Oh, cool, awesome. All right, excellent. The Chicago Firefighters, I guess every team has a motto. The Chicago Firefighters motto is, "We are from Chicago." The Boston Flowers, the Hawaii Fridays, and there's more teams. And then apparently when you win, you get to vote on like outcomes, things that happens. Like you can vote on like there being a fourth strike. You can vote to invoke enhanced shame, or peanuts. You can vote for relegation, like in soccer, I guess.
And that like one I don't know, but I think this sounds like something I might be doing way more than I'm doing my work.
Yeah, there are blessings that can be awarded to selected players. You can vote for blessings.
Wow.
Like bloodlust matches the stats of a random player on your team.
Baseball at your mercy. I just brought
defection.
It. Hey, you're right. It doesn't want to load.
Defection it's business. The best pitcher in the league it just joins your team.
Nice. Nice. Oh, I want to play this. This is clever. Do you play it? Do you play like? Is it multi? I'm so bad with games.
So apparently there are multiple games going on at any given time during the day, and they're fast. So like the computer just simulates all the games, Yeah. And just kind of gives you the results of the thing. So I'm suspecting tomorrow maybe they'll have more servers or something, and it'll be.
Oh, I hope so, because I tried to go there. It still hasn't loaded for me. So
there's the Dallas Steaks, the Charleston Shoe Thieves, the New York Millennials, the Seattle Garages.
Okay, is there a Denver team or a Colorado team?
I suspect there has to be, but since I can't get it to load, I can't see just yet.
We have to know what our
there are various articles written like on thepace.com or pacemagazine.com rather. Vice.com has an article, and the Blaze Ball commissioner has a Twitter account, and that should be followed.
Yes.
Blaze Ball Comms with 2 M's. Blaze Ball Comms.
Go in as soon as I'm in. Which I'm not, but as soon as I'm in, I'm going to be in. So, do you think Mike Trout's going to come back from paternity leave?
I would hope so, because I need Mike Trout to come back from paternity leave.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Trout, that kid's going to be in your house for the next 18 years. Let's go play baseball.
Yeah.
You got some child care. Don't worry about it. Come on back. You play for the Angels. You don't have COVID there.
That's true.
So far.
He's back in the lineup. So
yes. So far.
To see. Yeah, so far.
Oh, that's a good point. I think Rendon was out with COVID-like symptoms at some point. So
he was out with oblique injury.
Oh, was it an oblique injury? Okay, got it.
Right. Yeah. So there's still is he going to make it? Because it's hard. That's a tough injury. But hey, if he's back, he's probably back.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I think. And I obviously I love him. So he's so cool to watch hit he's just cool to watch, you know.
And I've been watching swings, right? Like the way guys swing, the nature of their swings, right? A lot of home runs were hit with like golf club swings, and like a lot of guys are really good, like sort of outside ball hitters. I saw Aaron Judge hit a baseball that has convinced me that there is one thing a pitcher should never do when dealing with Aaron Judge. Do not throw the baseball anywhere near his waist. Don't throw it near his belt. If you throw it to him near on line with his belt, he's going to do horrible things to that baseball, and you should absolutely never do that. And that is Aaron Judge. There's a ball that's still – the other thing about that I noticed with the empty stadiums, some of these ballparks are becoming my favorite ballparks just for the sound the ball makes coming off the bat.
Yeah.
Just a bunch of explosions.
Yeah. Oh, that's okay. Something else I wanted to talk to you about before we get to Hendrick, because I want to talk about Howie just a little bit. I want to talk about him like in a really digressive, not necessarily relevant way. But oh, what was I going to say? Darn, empty stadiums. Yeah, we were going to talk about empty stands, and there's a lot to be said about that. But I was really thinking about it the last couple of days because you know the Orioles got back in the game. And I was watching them, and I just was remembering how beautiful Camden Yards is. Their grass is like this incredible green, and you know it's offset by all that. I mean, it's really, I think, a lot prettier than Wrigley, even though it has a lot of similar attributes. It's just such a pretty park. And I remembered 2015. It was a really big deal that day that the Orioles played with no fans, that they closed the park to fans. That was a really big deal. Yep. And we won't take a moment of silence, but a moment of silence for Freddie Green, because that was horrible. And everything made sense somehow. Closing the park made sense somehow. They needed it was almost like they did it on behalf of the protesters as opposed to in defense of them.
Right.
So that was the mood inside the park, and that was even the mood with the mass and announcers. Jim Palmer and Gary Cohen, I think, were the announcers that day, and even they were just like, you know, come on, we can work this out. You know, we got to make this right. It was amazing. Yeah. I was leaving for Haiti for a 2-week trip in Haiti the next day. It wasn't like I had time to sit around and watch baseball, but I did. I watched the game from beginning to end, and I made notes. I have pages of notes on that game. And it was because I thought it was the only time in my life that I would ever see a game played with no fans, ever. I really thought that. That's
interesting, right? Like, that was, 5 years ago?
Yeah.
And holy shit, that was the only time I can think of a game being played with no fans in the stands up until now. Yeah.
I don't think it had ever been done, and it was just such a extreme step, and I still believe, just I guess because I watched it so closely. I mean, I recorded every minute. I wrote as fast as I could. Baseball doesn't pause for you, right?
Yeah.
I wrote as fast as I could, and I recorded everything I could, and it really seemed to be an act of goodwill. You know, like, I mean, at first I thought maybe they were punishing Baltimore, like, well, if you guys can't control yourselves, blah blah blah, then you can't see baseball, you know. But but it seemed more like they really wanted to try to protect people, take care of them, make sure that nobody got hurt. And I don't mean fans. I mean, there wouldn't be any reason to come to the streets and keep people from getting hurt. And there were some fans like crowding around the outfield entrances and exits.
Yes.
And stuff. I mean, the people were really trying to see, and they seemed so shut out, like you really like this, you know, feeling of just like being shut out. Gary Cohen and Jim Palmer were I mean, in a normal circumstance, I would imagine that they would be very conservative because this is baseball,
right? And they're old-timey players. They
are, and very, you know, and instead they were like, this is wrong, something really bad happened here, and we need to make it right.
Right.
You know? And it was amazing. It was absolutely the most amazing thing. And I was so sure it was the last time that I would ever see that.
Yeah. And this is the other problem there is like Jim Palmer and these guys, they're saying something, we need to make this right. The problem becomes the what to do to make it right. You know what I mean? Like baseball has traditionally tried to use its powers to make people feel better after a horrible like incident. But like, it doesn't use its power to change the structure of what created the incident.
That's right.
You know, like that's the issue.
Right.
Baseball itself has done work to, you know, address a social issue within itself, right?
Uh-huh.
Like that, this is how you get integration in baseball, right? But then baseball fails to take that next step, which is to grow its game in its own country, so that like its game is a healing factor to people and a change agent, besides just saying, hey, we'll make you feel better, we have baseball.
Yes,
Do that.
yeah, being a change agent. And so I had a very brief text conversation with my husband's son the other day, because he is just a lifelong, not only just basketball fan, but Lakers fan. He is crazy. He might be the Lakers' biggest fan, or he's up there. And he was so excited about, you know, the season resuming,
Yeah.
and we talked a little bit about that, because he was actually watching basketball. It was day one, and he was watching it when I texted him. So whenever that was, maybe it wasn't last week. But anyway, he said he'd just seen Equality pass the ball to Peace, and
Yes.
and said that they were, you know, I mean, I guess there were a bunch of messages that were league sanctioned, and they could pick among them, but that they could do something like this. And you know, I think yesterday after the Cardinals Brewers got postponed, you know, or postponed all piled up on itself. I thought, well, you know, okay, there's only 8 games left in the NBA regular season and then playoffs, and I think I'm just going to watch these guys. Let me watch a little basketball. I don't do that very often. So I put on whoever was playing. I don't know, and I took in a lot of information. One of them, you know, and I texted Matt, my husband's son, and told him that, okay, I'm a Lakers fan, obviously. My number's 13 after Wilt Chamberlain. And I've got Love on my jersey because Love always wins. I said, pass me the ball, Peace, because Love always wins. I'm watching the game in that mindset, right, in that context. And I'm watching, and it took me a while, but then I realized that it was like, wow, man, these guys are like playing in the high school gym. And, you know, and I thought, you hear everything. And then I thought, there's no fans.
No fans.
So like, here's my comparison, right? No fans at the basketball game, no fans at the baseball game.
The sound is entirely different.
The sound is entirely
everything's different when there's no fans there.
Yeah, and it reminded me of the game back in 2015 in Camden Yards, because you know, like Gary Cohen was saying that. So that was the Masson broadcast, but there was I can't even remember who came to play the Orioles, but their announcers were like 2 booths down, and they were having to talk really quietly because you know, they could hear each other's
you can hear everything.
Each other's broadcast booths.
Yes.
You could hear everything. And it was almost like, I don't know, I mean, it wasn't at the time, but in retrospect, now it's acquired the feeling of like this sacred moment. Whereas now, you know, they just keep messing with it. You know, it's like, like pipe in this sound or pipe in that sound, and you know. And
the Yankees had they have virtual fans on their TV broadcast, like computer generated fans out in the outfield or some shit. Like I think that's weirder than no fans.
Well, what I love about it is probably the same home run you saw, but Aaron Judge hits his home run, right? And it goes out to the stands, and it's empty stands. And then they do a replay, and there's CGI fans. And then there's a second replay, and there's no fans.
There's no fans again, right? Like that's exactly it. This is bizarre. The fans are disappearing. Like at first, when I saw the home run, I thought that they were showing me a home run from the previous year because there should be no fans. And then one of the announcers goes, "Yeah, he hits it right into the virtual fans," and I was like, "The what? Oh my God, no!" I'd rather have the cardboard cutout fans, because then you can at least say like we're raffling off, auctioning off, you know, whatever. Cardboard cutouts or something like that, you know, to get yourselves out there. One of our local morning news crews had their cardboard cutouts out there. Virtual fans, I don't buy that.
Yeah.
Because I don't have a lot of things where I think like we have to preserve baseball being baseball. I have a lot of things where I feel like change it, screw it. You know, what the hell? Trying to preserve baseball as this like immutable institution is the worst possible thing you can really do if you really want to help this game out, right? But and virtual fans, I kind of feel like, now it just looks like some video game graphics from like 2005 or something. Like that's not good. Like let it be empty. Go get the baseball and now auction off the baseball to charity or something.
Yeah.
Right? Sell that baseball to get money for a children's hospital. So you know, Make-A-Wish Foundation, right? Like every baseball that goes into those stands should go to serve some purpose, like some social, something like the ACLU should get proceeds from like baseballs hit in Met Stadium, or you know what I mean, like that kind of thing is what I think they ought to be doing.
Yeah, I think so. And that cycles back to your point about being an actual agent for change, because if baseball is not an actual agent for social change, it is at any rate something that shows up and comforts us.
Yes.
Gives us, like, I think I know what I was looking for was a sense of any kind of normalcy in the middle of
sure.
This by its rhythms. I want a nice steady rhythm, that kind of it's all going to be okay kind of a feeling. And by denying that the stands are empty, it's like you lose this opportunity.
Right.
Embrace what's actually going on, and then say we're going to step into that, and we're going to see what we can do to help.
Yep.
And but at the NBA games I was watching yesterday, they had the CGI fans. They didn't have them up all the time, but it didn't create the same effect, because they're on flat screens.
Yes.
You're like, whatever. But I felt all that comfort watching the basketball games. I felt like, here's all these people, and they're these amazing athletes, and yet obviously not yet. That's the wrong word. They're these amazing athletes, but they're focused on more than the game. They're so focused on more than the game, and that's what actually gave me a sense of comfort more than anything else.
Yes.
I don't know if these guys are really like in control of anything, but it made me feel like they were. It made me feel like somebody's got their eye on this situation, and saying things like, even one guy, this is so sad. I haven't followed basketball in so long. He was a guy in a white uniform. So whoever wears all white, he played.
That could be the Milwaukee Bucks. They have a very light colored uniform.
No, I don't think they were playing yesterday though.
No, okay.
On ESPN. Could it be? So the Rockets are wearing red, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Could it be the Utah Jazz? Could they be all in white? The Nuggets are wearing blue.
For somehow, in my brain, yellow comes to mind.
Yeah.
Let's look it up. Let's see.
Yeah. But he actually picked "Say Her Name," and that was so powerful. Because am I next? That's a big one. I think they're wearing the T-shirts. That is so powerful.
Yep.
Love, equality, peace. I don't know if Justice is there. I didn't see anybody playing Justice, but these are. But man, when I saw a guy show up with "Say Her Name," I was bowled over. That was a good.
Denver Nuggets are wearing light colors, or possibly white. So are the Clippers.
They had blue yesterday. Clippers.
Okay.
Maybe he was Clippers. Maybe he was Clippers, because I think I did see a good part of the Clippers game. Yeah.
Clippers Pelicans.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to say it must have been to do with the Clippers. And he picked "Say Her Name," and I'm like, I love you. I don't know your name, and I just said you. For all I know, you stink at basketball. I don't know. And I don't know what you'd say with baseball players. Like, who would you, if you were like me and you never followed the game and you decided that you were going to check in and see what was going on, who would you immediately say, "I love you"?
To NBA players or for baseball players?
For baseball players. Like if this
for baseball players, like I find that I definitely fall in love with certain guys and I just stay that way. And that's where my Gene Segura, Cody Bellinger, Kevin Biggio, Jimmy Rollins. Well, okay. Jimmy Rollins, CeCe Sabathia, Ryan Howard, specifically are players I've always loved because there was something on ESPN. It was an ESPN special several years ago when they were all still playing, where they got like 7 or 8 black players to come and sit on the couch and just talk.
Wow.
Right? About like being black baseball players, about the declining numbers of black players in the league at the time, right? And how they felt. They were talking about how they felt that happened, right? Mm-hmm. The change that happened between when they were coming up, getting into the game, and when they broke in, and sort of like how the game had become international and young black players went to other sports, right? They were having this conversation. I was fascinated by it. And there was like times in which there were players that were in this conversation that it never even occurred to me that they might have even known the other black players around the league because there's so few black players playing the game. Right. That when it was like, oh man, these guys definitely all know each other. Of course they know each other, right? This my mind was blown. And then they were aware, like I was aware that teams were like definitely more international, but the game, the athletes coming up, the NBA was just getting everyone.
Yeah.
Right? Like all these guys, you know, so many guys would come up and say like, yeah, I played baseball as a kid, but then there was no LeBron James of baseball, right? You know what I mean? There was no Kobe Bryant of baseball, right? Like who was that guy? Like, so when you're looking for like the players who are drawing you to the game, baseball just wasn't, in the 70s and 80s, baseball was absolutely the sport to play. Right? That or the NFL or football, you know, but like baseball was super popular in my neighborhood, you know. But these guys were having these conversations about like how the game seems to just not be as, they weren't talking about it like it was a mystery that the game didn't seem to be as interesting to young black kids. They were talking about why and what baseball could do to change that, right? And then in this town, we had a little league team called Jackie Robinson West that got to the Little League World Series and won it. Right. And then they had their World Series trophy taken away.
Right.
But from that era, one of those players on that little league team was just drafted by the Chicago White Sox.
Wow.
You know, Ed Howard was just drafted as a shortstop for the White Sox. And I thought, man, you know, like that to me is that coming full circle of here's a player from your city, right? Who went and played high school baseball in your city, and he's gotten to the point where he's a first round pick of the team in your city. That is how you reverse it, right? You made the game, that little league team inspired other players. Who knows who's coming up, right? Who knows how many players? But if you don't have fields for these kids to play on, right? If you don't have fields for organized baseball, if you don't have funds for organized baseball, you have a problem in your city with something for kids to do in general. And then if Major League Baseball itself doesn't take it upon itself to like promote its stars, right, as actual athletes, don't just have them sell insurance, but like really promote them doing what they do, these amazing things. Mookie Betts throwing people out from the parking lot, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That stuff is what makes kids go out and want to do that thing.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
These guys, baseball players, are right now being superheroes, right? Trying to get through this season, right? And I think it's also heroic of guys like Lorenzo Cain to go home.
Yeah.
Right? Because when star players are like, hey, man, this is serious. Yeah. And I love baseball, but like,
it's serious.
This is crazy. You know, like I don't know that our opponents are taking this as seriously as they should take it. Like, I think that has to make baseball like think about this like seriously and like have a uniform way to handle health and safety.
Yes. Yeah. And really stick to it. And
stick to it.
Yeah. Because they said that the bus driver for the Miami Marlins tested positive. So, you know, I mean, it's kind of easy to get this misconception that it's just, it's all these young, strong, healthy players who are going to get it and they're going to be fine.
Yeah.
Right. But I've been worried about Don Mattingly since all this started because they aren't all young. Right.
Right.
I've been worried about him, and now we've got a bus driver. You got to worry about him. You got to worry about his family. You got to worry about his families, etc. You know, these spreader events, they happen, and so many people are involved.
The Cubs were, I think, the only team in baseball to so far not have a player test positive. Right?
Wow.
Chris Bryant isn't playing today because he said he woke up not quite feeling right. So he and I think maybe there might be two players from the Cubs today who decided to not show up out of an abundance of caution, just in case. But their pitching coach, before the season started, their pitching coach, Tommy Hotovy, absolutely had COVID, and he was still doing team meetings and things like from over Zoom. So the players could actually watch his health fight, his health battle, because they could see him lose 30 pounds and like all this other stuff that he was going through. And it wasn't just being sick for 2 weeks. He was out for like a month.
Yeah.
Right. Because it took a long time just for him to like, even when he had gone through the 2 weeks, just getting to where he could function took another 2 weeks. Right. So the players all got to basically, the Cubs were a team that had to watch their pitching coach go through this and really put it into their heads that, oh man, like this is what it looks like, right? And I think it helped them probably like get their crap together. Because who knows without that, you know?
You think that's the case with the Braves as well, since Freddie Freeman got sick?
I think it does. I think it's not like, on the one hand, you don't want to call it a blessing in disguise, but when you're watching people that you have to directly interact with come down with COVID and like have to go through getting healthy again, you can't say, oh, it's maybe not that big a deal, or I'm young and healthy to be fine. Now, when it drops guys, then it's like, it doesn't matter if you're young and healthy. The disease doesn't give a shit, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't care. And the bus driver for the Marlins testing positive, like, well, that guy's in contact with pretty much everyone.
Right.
And like, that's literally your transportation is a disease vector. Like, you really should be thinking about like, man, how many other ways are we messing this up?
Right.
You know? I think baseball honestly could have done the hockey thing. They could have done the Hub City thing. They should have probably thought about not just staying within interdivision, you know what I mean? But like how to play in 6 ballparks around the league, and just those 6 ballparks, right? How to do this in such a way that you don't have to worry about the travel, in which case then once you get to the city, you quarantine, everyone tests positive. Now we just have to, after every game, deep clean the stadium we're using. I think it's what the KBO is doing.
Yeah,
you know?
That's right. That's right. And well, you know, Governor Cuomo said they could bring the entire Major League season to New York State. All of
I think he'd love that.
Oh, wouldn't he?
I think that just for promotional value alone, like
New
York saved baseball is what I think he wants to be able to say.
Yeah.
I don't think that's like that's feasible.
I saved baseball, but he would give it to New York. I kind of want him to be able to say it. Actually, I feel like New Yorkers have kind of earned it.
I would think just get the baseball out of Texas, get it out of Florida, right? Like get it out of the hotspot states. And have it in you know, you could have it like in some really beautiful stadiums, but in cities that can support having these teams show up to their hotels, right? Exactly. I think that's kind of what you really need to do. But they should have done it. At least it's too late for that now.
Well, Denver would be a great choice. I mean, even though everybody would be like, well, we don't want to play a whole bunch of games in Denver. It's like, well, come on and find out, you know?
Right. Hitters would love it. A lot of pitching staffs would be like, oh, no.
Yeah.
I think if I'm a pitcher on a contract year, I'm opting out, right? Like, just, you're not. No way in hell. I'm not having 6 starts in Denver. Not 12 starts, not a chance.
Yeah, but our pitching staff is apparently doing something right because
they're the best ERA in baseball, I think.
Number one.
Them or Cleveland, they're kicking ass. The pitching staff. Apparently, keeping the ball down is something they've learned to do.
Yeah, they can do it anywhere now. Sorry about the noise. Yeah, I have to have the window open. Yeah.
Yeah, it was right before you got on. There was a big storm that rolled through Chicago, and it was like raining really hard, and then suddenly it just stopped. You know.
Oh, nice.
So we can deal with it.
Yeah.
It's fine.
So when I saw that the Reds were playing the Tigers, I was like, oh yeah, the Tigers. I'd forgotten about the Tigers.
Poor Tigers.
Poor Tigers. I mean, like, oh yeah, there's a team in Detroit, isn't there?
They have a bit of a youth movement going on there.
Yeah.
You know?
They need some more. I don't know what the score is right now, but Nick Castellanos had already hit 2 home runs by the time we got on.
Yeah.
So
I'm a little upset about this because Nick Castellanos was doing so well with the Cubs last year. I really wanted them to sign him.
Yeah.
And they didn't. They let him go, and the dude can just play.
Yeah.
You know, pay him whatever he wants.
Is he on your fantasy team?
He is not. Someone drafted him. He was in my list of possible players to draft, but someone picked him. And I guess I wasn't thinking about like how good the Reds could possibly be, because if I was, I definitely would have drafted him. But Teoscar Hernandez of the Toronto Blue Jays, who have not played in a couple of days now. Last week I didn't know what this guy would be like, but he hit 3 home runs this week. So
wow.
I think I'm okay. Remember, I was worried about dropping Joey Votto and whether or not I would regret it.
Yeah.
And Joey Votto is now on a disabled list because he's got COVID.
Whoa.
So I don't have to worry about Joey Votto having been dropped. I guess I'm okay with this. This is some guy named Teoscar Hernandez who before this year I didn't know a damn thing about. Now currently is kicking ass and possibly saving my team.
Oh man!
So the guys you're getting late rounds, he's hitting 321 with 4 home runs, 6 RBIs, and 6 run score.
Wow.
Yeah.
So do you think that we're still online for a Yankees Dodgers face-to-face World Series? Winner take
If that
all.
World Series can be played in 3 weeks, sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm still not sure we're going to get to the end of this season.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we got to take it a day at a time, right? It was so conflicting and weird yesterday because Steve woke me up telling me that they might cancel the season. And I thought, well, that's what Fauci said, a week. And Monday, I think Tuesday was the day that he recorded the podcast. Maybe it was Tuesday. So that would be a week, and or inside of one. And then I put on ESPN, and there were news headlines going by that the commissioner's office had notified the networks to prepare cancellation of the season. And then like 6 hours later, ESPN comes out where Manfred told Carl Ravitch that there's no way that they're going to let this whole thing crumble now. They're going to keep going. So,
and that's because Manfred absolutely works for the owners. So like the owners remember it was the owners who were trying to make the playoffs bigger because that's all owner money and no player money. So like the owners are like, keep it going as much as you possibly can. Don't you dare cancel this season. When all right, man, they're going to be there was a pitcher who came up last week that had not pitched higher than A ball. Who started a game, like that's the kind of thing where, look, these teams have holes all over the place.
Yeah.
You got to call up guys that you just drafted. Hey, I know we just drafted you, kid. We're still working on a contract. We just signed this. I think you're starting today. You're our new starter. You're going to be our new ace. Trust me. We can get you like 3-4 starts in before we have to send you anywhere.
Yeah, and maybe you'll be just Dustin May in disguise.
Yes, right? Dustin May is on my fantasy team now.
Ah, there you go.
Picked up Dustin May. I was, hey, look, that kid. They're not sending him anywhere just yet.
No, not a chance. Yeah, not a chance. Exciting. Are you more sort of high on the White Sox now after a week of White Sox?
Well, my one White Sox scare was Eloy Jimenez crashing into a wall, hitting his head, and being lightheaded, and then being out for 3 days. Yeah. But he's back, so I'm happy. Right, I'm thrilled.
He had a good day yesterday.
We are as likely to possibly have a Cubs White Sox World Series.
Wow,
which would be awesome.
That would
given
be
it like because they're both probably going to make the playoffs, as we are to have a Yankees Dodgers World Series.
That would be the best thing ever.
I think I would find that to be really cool. Like to have a crosstown World Series in this, because the White Sox have to play the same bad teams that the Cubs did.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. But you would, oh my goodness, I mean, you would have like bragging rights. You'd have so much culture and so much history at stake. I mean, at least Chicago seems to me like this super divided city.
It's super divided here, and it'd be really weird because like it'd be a thing in which people still couldn't really go out and like if the Cubs and the White Sox were in the World Series in a normal time where people could actually be in the city, it would be bananas in this town. It would just be like
the streets.
you would have to have firefighters on every corner because this city will tear itself apart with both the party and the fighting, right? Is what would happen here. But in a COVID situation where like no one can be out, the big battle will be watching this city try to lobby to have bars and restaurants open when bars and restaurants shouldn't be open, because a Cubs White Sox World Series would be a big moneymaker for this town, but not if like, oh man, I think our Tommy Horner or Nico Horner, our rookie second baseman, just let a ball go straight through the wickets, and it was an easy routine one. Poor kid. He feels horrible.
I saw a routine play yesterday, and I said, you got to remember to tell Terry about this. And I'm sitting here, and I cannot remember the team or the play. But it was a very routine play where somebody from, left field, somebody we know really well, who's been playing a long time.
Like Alex Gordon?
No, it wasn't Alex Gordon because it wasn't the Royals. But he did. He threw in from left field to home plate, and it went about, I don't know, 6 feet wide.
Oh, okay.
So the runner scored, obviously.
Yeah.
Man, I mean, that was really routine. And it made me think about distraction. It made me think about, distraction.
That's it.
How focused do you have to be to play baseball right now?
Right. Super focused. Super focused.
Super focused, yeah. Yeah, so, how focused do you have to be? And I mean, you see some of those holes too, not just like personnel holes where like guys are down, but even the guys that are there. The Yankees are really, really focused, but I don't think they only had to sit out like 2 games at the Phillies, right? Otherwise they've been playing, they've been on the field.
Yeah, they've been back.
Yeah, they've been back. So that's that's an advantage. That's advantage Yankees, really. Anybody who's managed to get games in, advantage that team, you know. And
Pretty much.
yeah, Victor Robles had a fantastic catch at the wall.
Yep.
Yep. And I don't know if you want to hear my Howie Kendrick observation. It might.
What's your Howie Kendrick observation?
Well, you know, I studied ballroom and Latin dance, right?
Okay.
And I've been doing a lot of, I've been working really, really hard this summer on cha-cha, like really trying to master cha-cha at a higher level than I have. And one of the things about studying Latin dance is you got to get this Latin motion going, right? Which is this like hip business that you know, it takes some work. I mean, it takes work, especially if you don't grow up with that kind of hip business going on. You know, my teacher's Peruvian, so she's like all about the hip. She's got those mastered, and I'm like, how do you do that again? So, you know, we've been working on that, and I can't remember. She made some kind of a joke about baseball, and she put her arms up like this, and she did just like a little kid where she just like swung like that. And I was like, oh, no, it's not like that. And I like took the imaginary bat away from her. And I said, look, these guys, they wind up with their hips. And I brought my knee in. I said, you watch them on TV. You watch them. They start with their hips. They shoot their hips out. Their body unrolls around it, and they're that last. And I demonstrated, and she said, her eyes got like this big, and she said, look what you can do with your hips.
Suddenly you do know a hip thing.
Yeah, you know a hip thing. We're going to use that, you know? And so, yeah, so I'm getting like, I mean, I'm not in like the bikini shorts with the shiny tassels yet, you know?
Sure.
Like
yeah.
I'm getting there.
Yeah,
and
but you got hips, so like, yeah, you just got to like employ them, Beth.
Employ them, yeah. Enough. You don't do with your hips, you do with your knees. And so you work out how to work your knees, that works your hips, but you also got to protect your knees. And so you work, it's crazy. It's like a whole musculoskeletal thing going on. It's way cool. And I'm getting good at it, like inserting it in these ways with these swivels, and it's amazing. And so there we are, like pretending that we're hitters, and we're unrolling our hips. At about 5 minutes into it, I thought, man, no wonder these guys get such bad back problems, you know? If I did this 40 hours a week for, 28 years, that'd be it. I'd be like in a wheelchair or something. So when they said that Howie Kendrick was out with upper back tightness, I put all that together because, we were talking last week about how amazing it is that he's still playing. Yeah. And even though I unfortunately endowed him with 4 more years of seniority.
You aged him.
Yeah, but I mean, between 16 and 20 years, there's very little when I realized that the cost on a hitter's back, because I'm doing it pretend with an air bat, they're hitting the ball on top of everything else. They're doing this all the time, plus they're hitting a ball. And even though they're doing it with these super young bodies, with already all this great spine flex, that is going to hurt. And these guys must spend the rest of their lives in some kind of pain. They really have to. This has to be a lifelong commitment to
You hear it from a lot of guys. You definitely hear a lot of guys with back problems and knee problems. And I think a lot of it comes down to like, there's the sort of science and kinesiology behind hitting a baseball, but it is absolutely the repetition of having done it. Right? Yes. Like the season, the best thing for their bodies might actually be a 60-game season as opposed to a 162-game season because they get the rest.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
The stress of a COVID season is definitely probably a problem, but not having to go through this repeated stress for 162 games.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe what baseball would actually need to do is not have a 25-man roster, but actually have a 30-man roster.
That's
right?
what I was thinking, yeah.
Or so you can spell some guys, right? But like, Look, so there was a drop third strike play on my baseball game just now.
Oh, no way. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Which game is it?
It's the Cubs Pirates. It was David Bodie batting, and he swung at a third strike. The catcher absolutely missed it, but David Bodie knew to run. He was thrown out, but he absolutely knew to run.
Absolutely knew to run. That's fantastic. I love it.
Yep. He knew to run. He took off. He was thrown out.
That's a perfect place to end this.
Yeah, absolutely. Week two is in the books.
Week 2 is in the books. The sausage of making the podcast. You already know how to do this, right? And I think I'm hitting the learning curve pretty well. Show notes, easy to write. Episode notes, easy to write. We got a name. We're not gonna bother with intro and outro music yet, but although I have an idea.
You have ideas, cool, great.
So what we really need is an image. We need an image for Drop Third Strike.
Okay, this week I will come up with an image for Drop Third Strike.
You rock. Okay. Got it. So I'm gonna put these up on YouTube. I'm gonna make us a Drop Third Strike channel. Hopefully,
Okay.
hopefully it's not taken. If it is, it'll be Erwinus Drop Third Strike because nobody has Erwinus.
Absolutely.
And,
Totally true.
and then if I can, I'll send you username and password. If there's a way to link this to your Black Nerd podcast or your
Sure.
YouTube
I'll
channel,
try.
or just
Yeah.
have at it, right? And,
Yeah.
yeah.
If nothing else, we just drop links. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, perfect.
All right. So our going away sort of outro note will be that you have been listening to Drop Third Strike. I am Terry Gant at Doc Midnight on Twitter, and my co-host is Beth Davies at Erwinus on Twitter. How's that?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Beth Davies, Erwinus, who could talk to Terry for 6 more hours because baseball is really that cool.
Excellent. It's fantastic.
Terry, yeah. Okay.
All right. Cool.
Later.
We get it. All right. See you later. Bye.
Okay, bye.